In New Jack City, power, money, and violence ruled the streets, and almost no one escaped unscathed. But the real consequences didn't end on screen. Behind the scenes, those consequences followed the actors long after the film ended. Some paid the price with their health, others with their careers, and a few with their freedom. What really happened to them? Let's uncover their real lives and honor the legacies they left behind. Wesley Snipes as Nino Brown. Nino Brown, the cold, charismatic drug lord at the center of New Jack City, 1991, was embodied by Wesley Snipes. At just 29 years old, he wasn't merely the film's villain. He was its gravity, the force that pulled every character into moral collapse. That performance didn't just define the movie, it redefined Snipes' career and set him on a path that would swing violently between triumph and self-destruction. Born July 31, 1962, in Orlando, Florida, Wesley Trent Snipes rose out of hardship in the South Bronx, sharpening himself through discipline, martial arts, and sheer will. By the late 1980s, he was already gaining momentum with Major League, 1989, Mo Better Blues, 1990, and King of New York, 1990, earning a rare balance of box office appeal and critical respect. After New Jack City, Hollywood embraced him fully. White Men Can't Jump, 1992, and Demolition Man, 1993, turned him into a global star, intense, magnetic, and dangerously confident. But with that confidence came a reputation for control and conflict. As Snipes began pushing directors, rewriting boundaries, and testing the limits of power on set. The peak came with Blade, 1998 to 2004, a franchise that made him the first modern black superhero icon and grossed hundreds of millions worldwide. Yet behind the scenes, the cracks widened. Reports of isolation, refusing to leave his trailer, and communicating only through notes became industry legend. Then came the fall. Tax convictions, prison time, and a career frozen mid-stride. Roles in Brooklyn's Finest, 2009, and Dolomite Is My Name, 2019, proved his talent never vanished, but they also underscored how much had been lost. By 2025, at 63 years old, Wesley Snipes stands as a cautionary legend. His net worth remains disputed, with estimates ranging from severe losses due to tax debt to roughly $10 million, reflecting a legacy as unstable as it is unforgettable. Ice-T as Date, Scotty Appleton. Detective Scotty Appleton, the streetwise cop navigating corruption in New Jack City, 1991, was embodied by Ice-T. He was 33 years old when he took on the role, functioning as the film's hard moral edge and lived-in realism. That credibility pulls us straight into the man behind the badge. Born February 16, 1958 in Newark, New Jersey, Tracy Lauren Marrow entered fame carrying controversy rather than comfort. His music career detonated the industry with Rhyme Pays, 1987, and Power, 1988, then escalated with OG Original Gangster, 1991, but success came chained to backlash. The cop killer controversy fractured his relationship with Warner Brothers, triggered political outrage, and nearly erased his recording future overnight, forcing him to walk away from a major label at the height of visibility. Acting offered a second battlefield. After New Jack City, he pressed forward in Surviving the Game, 1994, and Trespass, 1992, yet tensions followed him on set, rewriting lines, challenging producers, and insisting on authenticity even when it cost him favor. His long run as Odafin Tutuola on Law & Order, SVU, beginning in 2000 finally stabilized his public image. But privately, his relationships were strained by fame, rumors of infidelity, and the emotional distance left by years of survival mode. Now, Ice-T is 67 years old and remains active across television, music with Body Count, and true crime hosting. His estimated net worth of about $65 million reflects decades of reinvention, earned through albums, syndication, touring, and real estate. Mario Van Peebles as Det Stone Detective Stone, the sharp-edged lawman navigating chaos in New Jack City, 1991, was embodied by Mario Van Peebles. Van Peebles was 34 years old when he stepped into the dual responsibility of acting in and shaping the film, functioning as both moral counterweight and narrative engine. That balance leads directly into a career defined by control, conflict, and consequence. Born January 15, 1957, in Mexico City, Mexico, Mario Kane Van Peebles entered Hollywood carrying a powerful surname and relentless expectations. Despite early success, he was repeatedly boxed in as an independent black filmmaker, with projects like Posse, 1993, and Panther, 1995, criticized harshly and underperforming financially. His refusal to dilute racial themes fueled clashes with studios, branding him as difficult even as he proved his range through Heartbreak Ridge, Alley, and Badass, 2003. That same intensity fractured his private life. After 2 decades of marriage, Van Peebles divorced Chitra Suku amid allegations of infidelity and work obsession, distancing himself emotionally from those closest to him. He later spoke quietly about depression, creative burnout, and periods of withdrawal, retreating to Costa Rica in search of mental stability while continuing to direct series like Empire, Sons of Anarchy, and Roots. Today, Mario Van Peebles is 68 years old and remains active as a director, producer, and mentor, recently returning to the stage with a Lincoln Center tribute to his father. His estimated net worth of around $12 million stems from intellectual property, long-term television work, and real estate holdings in Malibu and Oregon. Judd Nelson as Date. Nick Peretti. Detective Nick Peretti, the volatile, uncompromising officer in New Jack City, 1991, was interpreted by Judd Nelson. Nelson was 32 years old when he assumed the role, bringing unpredictable intensity and moral ambiguity to the film's law enforcement side. That tension mirrors a career already slipping from control. Born November 28, 1959, in Portland, Maine, Judd Asher Nelson rose fast and fell just as publicly. After becoming an icon with The Breakfast Club, 1985, and St. Elmo's Fire, 1985, expectation turned toxic. Conflicts with directors, erratic behavior, and substance struggles fractured his momentum, pushing him from prestige projects into uneven choices despite strong turns in From the Hip, 1987, and Relentless, 1989. The 1990s exposed the cost. Nelson clashed on independent sets, sabotaged opportunities through lateness and intoxication, and watched Hollywood quietly move on. Though he found flashes of recovery in Suddenly Susan and later roles like The Boondock Saints. 2009, personal relationships collapsed, including a painful split with Shannon Doherty, while depression led to repeated hospitalizations for mental exhaustion. Today, Judd Nelson is 66 years old and works selectively in film, television, voice acting, and writing, far from the spotlight that once defined him. His estimated net worth of around $4 million comes largely from residuals and early investments. Chris Rock as Pookie Pookie, the broken addict spiraling toward self-destruction in New Jack City, 1991, was portrayed by Chris Rock at just 26 years old. It was raw, humiliating, and painfully real. Long before arenas and applause, Rock showed audiences what it looked like to be erased from the inside. Born February 7, 1965 in Andrews, South Carolina, Christopher Julius Rock carried trauma directly into his work. After being marginalized and effectively discarded from Saturday Night Live, he rebuilt himself through sheer rage and honesty. Bring the Pain, 1996, didn't just revive his career. It detonated it, followed by Bigger and Blacker, 1999, turning Rock into the most confrontational voice in American comedy. Yet Hollywood punished his ambition. Films like Down to Earth, 2001, and Pootie Tang, 2001, were ridiculed, reinforcing the belief that comedy was the only space he was allowed to control. Television became both refuge and confession. Everybody Hates Chris, 2005 to 2009, transformed childhood violence, humiliation, and fear into narrative authority, earning Emmys while reopening old wounds. Privately, his life collapsed. An 18-year marriage ended after admitted infidelity and addiction struggles, followed by years of therapy. Then came the 2022 Oscars. Now, Chris Rock is 60 years old, still commanding stages, directing films, and shaping culture. With an estimated net worth of around $60 million, his success is undeniable. But every dollar is layered over decades of rejection, survival, and the cost of never being allowed to be fragile. Bill Cobbs, as Old Man, the man whose sudden gunshot freezes the room in New Jack City, 1991, was embodied by Bill Cobbs. Cobbs was 57 years old when he delivered that stark, wordless act, functioning as a brutal moral jolt rather than a traditional character. The scene ends quickly, but it opens the door to a career defined by endurance, restraint, and consequences. Born June 16, 1934, in Cleveland, Ohio, Wilbert Francisco Cobbs entered the industry carrying a reputation for seriousness that both helped and hurt him. His career was shaped by constant pressure to accept marginal roles, often unnamed or reduced to the familiar, wise old man. When he refused dialogue he believed demeaned black men, conflicts followed, opportunities quietly disappeared, and at least one major studio is said to have stopped calling. Still, he pressed on, carving presence into films like The Brother from Another Planet, 1984, and The Bodyguard, 1992, where his authority came from silence rather than speeches. As decades passed, Cobbs became recognizable across generations without ever becoming protected by fame. He worked steadily in Night at the Museum, 2006, and Oz the Great and Powerful, 2013, while television roles filled the gaps Hollywood left open. Privately, he never married, lived alone, and struggled with depression and a degenerative neurological illness, rejecting assisted care even as isolation deepened and exhaustion took its toll. Sadly, Bill Cobbs died at age 90 on June 25, 2024, from natural causes at his home in California shortly after his birthday. His estimated net worth of about $5 million reflected a lifetime of persistence rather than stardom, built from decades of character work, pensions, and careful saving. Nick Ashford as Reverend Oates. Reverend Oates, the conflicted spiritual figure standing uneasily between faith and violence in New Jack City, 1991, was brought to life by Nick Ashford. Ashford was 49 years old at the time, lending the role a weary authority shaped by real experience rather than performance alone. His appearance feels brief, but it carries the weight of a man who understands compromise and cost. Born May 4, 1942 in Fairfield, South Carolina, Nicholas Ashford lived a professional life defined by pressure on all sides. Despite global success as one half of Ashford and Simpson, his career was scarred by exploitation and instability. Deceptive management deals cost him property, and industry gatekeepers repeatedly insisted he belonged behind the scenes. While the world danced to Ain't No Mountain High Enough and I'm Every Woman, Ashford privately battled cocaine addiction in the 1980s, entering rehabilitation only when the strain nearly ended everything he had built. His marriage to Valerie Simpson, beginning in 1974, was both his greatest partnership and his greatest test. Creative triumphs collided with emotional distance, relentless touring, and perfectionism that strained family bonds and left lingering guilt. As his health declined, throat cancer struck with cruel precision, stealing his voice and forcing him into silence while his songs continued to echo through films like The Bodyguard, 1992, and far beyond the charts. Sadly, Nick Ashford died at age 69 on August 22, 2011, in Manhattan, New York, from complications of throat cancer. His estimated net worth of around $15 million came largely from music royalties and long-term creative ownership, not acting fame. John Aprea as Don Armateo. Don Armateo, the restrained but influential crime boss in New Jack City, 1991, was portrayed by John Aprea. Aprea was 50 years old when he functioned as a stabilizing force inside the film's criminal ecosystem rather than a frontline villain. That quiet authority naturally leads back to a career shaped by intensity, conflict, and missed turns. Born March 4, 1941, in Englewood, New Jersey, Jonathan Aprea built his reputation early with prestige, yet never found safety in it. His turn as young Salvatore Tessio in The Godfather Part II, 1974, brought credibility, but not insulation. Afterward, his career drifted into constant motion, jumping from Bullitt, 1968, to The Stepford Wives, 1975, and later to television fixtures like Matt Houston and Falcon Crest. Behind the scenes, his insistence on rewriting dialogue and challenging directors earned him a reputation for being difficult, quietly narrowing the offers that came his way. That instability followed him home. Aprea married and divorced 3 times, with former spouses later accusing him of manipulation and infidelity, fractures that strained his relationship with his only daughter. Professionally, he remained active, appearing in Full House, Knots Landing, Another World, and later The Manchurian Candidate, 2004. Yet he carried long-standing regret over turning down The Sopranos, a decision he admitted cost him cultural relevance in the modern TV era. Sadly, John Aprea died at 83 years old on August 5, 2024, from natural causes at his home in Los Angeles. His estimated net worth of around $3 million came from decades of steady television work, film royalties, investments, and a modest collection of classic cars. Jake LaMotta as Gangster Gangster, the aging underworld figure in New Jack City, 1991, was embodied by Jake LaMotta. LaMotta was 69 years old when he took on the role, serving less as an actor and more as living evidence of violence lived and survived. His brief appearance carries the weight of a lifetime that never learned restraint. Born July 10, 1922 in New York City, Jacoby Jake LaMotta lived a career torn between glory and disgrace. As world middleweight champion in 1949, he became legendary, but the same intensity fueled mob entanglements, admitted fight fixing, and public humiliation. His life story was later exposed in Raging Bull, 1980, a film he privately regretted for revealing his brutality too honestly, even as it cemented his name in cultural history. Away from fame, LaMotta's personal life collapsed repeatedly. He married 6 times, openly admitting to domestic violence, infidelity, and emotional cruelty, patterns that destroyed every relationship he touched. Tragedy followed him relentlessly, including the death of a son in a plane crash, losses that hardened him rather than softened him. In later years, dementia eroded memory while leaving anger intact, trapping him inside his own reputation. Finally, Jake LaMotta died at age 95 on September 19, 2017, from complications of pneumonia in a Florida nursing home. His estimated net worth of roughly $1 million came from royalties, public appearances, and residual fame rather than lasting wealth. Bill Nunn as Man, Nino Brown's loyal and intimidating bodyguard in New Jack City, 1991, was brought to the screen by Bill Nunn. Nunn was 38 years old when he assumed the role, serving as the silent physical threat that reinforced Nino's power without needing dialogue. That presence becomes the gateway to a life shaped by intensity, collaboration, and hidden battles. Born October 20, 1953 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, William Goldwyn Nunn III built a career that moved slowly before exploding into cultural relevance. Recognition arrived with Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing, 1989, where his portrayal of Radio Raheem turned him into a symbol of rage, injustice, and tragedy. Yet fame did not stabilize his path. Hollywood continued offering him secondary roles in films like Mo Better Blues and He Got Game, while the pressure to live up to one defining performance quietly mounted. As his resume grew, Sister Act, 1992, Things to Do in Denver, When You're Dead, 1995, and later the Spider-Man trilogy as Robbie Robertson, none struggled privately. He battled chronic depression and periods of alcohol dependence, at times disappearing from sets under the weight of exhaustion and emotional strain. Married to Donna Watts, his family life remained guarded and fragile, as illness slowly overtook ambition. Sadly, Bill Nunn died at age 62 on September 24, 2016, from leukemia at his home in Pittsburgh. His estimated net worth of around $1.5 million came from film, television, and stage work rather than blockbuster fortune. Vanessa Estelle Williams as Keisha, sharp-tongued, volatile, and painfully vulnerable, was portrayed by Vanessa Estelle Williams in New Jack City, 1991, when she was 28. Though her screen time was limited, her presence lingered. A woman surviving in a violent man's world, torn between loyalty, fear, and self-preservation. It should have been a breakthrough. Instead, it became the start of a long, bruising detour. Born May 12, 1963, in Brooklyn, New York, Vanessa Estelle Williams entered Hollywood with undeniable talent and an almost cruel complication. Sharing a name with Vanessa L. Williams created years of confusion, lost roles, and stalled momentum. Even after strong performances in New Jack City and the horror classic Candyman, 1992, she found herself repeatedly sidelined, miscast, or erased from opportunity. Off-screen, the silence was heavier. Williams stepped away to raise her children while quietly battling PTSD, depression, and unresolved trauma she rarely spoke about publicly. When she returned, it wasn't with fanfare, but with resilience. Television became her refuge and her redemption. Murder One, Chicago Hope, and ultimately Soul Food, 2000 to 2004. Her portrayal of Maxine Chadway earned her an NAACP Image Award and critical acclaim. Now, at 62 years old, Vanessa Estelle Williams continues to work selectively and advocate for mental health awareness in Black communities. With an estimated net worth of around $2 million, her story isn't one of excess, but of survival. Russell Wong as Park, the controlled, silent lieutenant inside Nino Brown's empire in New Jack City, 1991, was embodied by Russell Wong. He was 28 years old when he took on the role, playing a man whose calm presence felt more dangerous than open violence. In a film driven by chaos, Wong's stillness created unease and marked him as different. Born March 1, 1963, in Troy, New York, Russell Wong entered Hollywood already fractured by identity. Of Chinese and Dutch-German heritage, he was repeatedly told he was too Asian for American leads and not Asian enough for Asian ones. Early acclaim came through Eat a Bowl of Tea, 1989, and China Cry, 1990, followed by New Jack City, which briefly positioned him as a breakout figure. But opportunities narrowed quickly. Wong refused caricatured roles, gangsters without depth, comic stereotypes, a decision that earned him quiet respect but loud consequences. The industry's betrayal peaked with Vanishing Son, 1994. The series was groundbreaking, one of the first American dramas led by an Asian actor, and it resonated deeply with audiences. Yet it was abruptly canceled, leaving Wong exposed and expendable. He pivoted wherever work allowed, emotionally layered roles in The Joy Luck Club, 1993, global exposure opposite Jet Li in Romeo Must Die, 2000, and later appearances like The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, 2008. Today, Russell Wong is 62 years old, living largely outside the industry's spotlight, splitting his life between Los Angeles and Asia. Teaching martial arts, working in photography, and choosing privacy over disappointment, his estimated net worth, $1 million, reflects a career shaped not by lack of ability, but by doors that quietly closed. Michael Michelle as Selena, the woman trapped between loyalty, fear, and survival in New Jack City, 1991, was brought to life by Michael Michelle. She was 25 years old when she embodied Selena, a character who wasn't just a love interest, but a moral fault line inside Nino Brown's empire. Her performance carried softness in a world that punished vulnerability, setting the tone for everything that followed. Born August 30th, 1966, in Evansville, Indiana, Michael Michelle entered Hollywood with poise and promise, but her path was immediately complicated. A high-profile name confusion with Vanessa L. Williams repeatedly cost her auditions, contracts, and momentum. Even after the success of New Jack City, offers stalled. She fought back through television, anchoring series like Dangerous Curves, and later delivering layered work in Homicide. Life on the Street, where she earned her first NAACP Image Award nomination. The pressure only intensified. Michelle became a familiar face without ever being allowed permanence. On ER, 1999 to 2002, her role as Dr. Cleo Finch resonated deeply, yet once again stability slipped away. Film roles such as Ally, 2001, and How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, 2003, kept her visible but never secure. Behind the scenes, industry silence followed a controversial lawsuit early in her career. Today, Michael Michelle is 59 years old, choosing selective projects and a quieter creative life after decades of endurance. With an estimated net worth of around $4 million, her legacy isn't defined by fame, but by resilience. Alan Payne as G-Money. G-Money, reckless, emotional, and doomed, was portrayed by Alan Payne in New Jack City, 1991. He was just 23 years old, playing a character whose hunger for respect became his downfall. In a story filled with monsters, G-Money felt tragically human. Born July 7, 1968, in Harlem, New York, Alan Payne carried the weight of survival into his work. Early promise followed him quickly. The Cosby Show gave him national exposure, while New Jack City cemented his credibility. Yet Hollywood never fully trusted him. He earned acclaim in Jason's Lyric, 1994, a role soaked in pain and romantic tragedy, but whispers followed. Momentum fractured. Roles came and went without trajectory. Vampire in Brooklyn, 1995. The Perfect Storm, 2000. Flashes of visibility without control. It wasn't until Tyler Perry's House of Pain that Payne found longevity, portraying C.J. Payne for years, a character who aged, struggled, and healed alongside him. Now, Alan Payne is 57 years old, living between Atlanta and New York, largely outside Hollywood's machinery. With an estimated net worth of about $5 million, built through television stability, stage work, and property investments, his story lingers, not as a rise or a fall, but as a reminder of how easily potential can be contained rather than celebrated. Christopher Williams as Kareem Akbar. Kareem Akbar, one of Nino Brown's trusted lieutenants in New Jack City, 1991, was embodied by Christopher Williams. He was 24 years old when he took on the role, portraying a man whose loyalty to power outweighed morality. Behind the scenes, his life was different. Born August 22, 1967 in the Bronx, New York, Christopher Lawrence Williams entered fame from music, not film. He rose fast in the late 1980s as an R&B star during the new Jack Swing era, scoring hits like Talk to Myself, 1989, and the chart-topping I'm Dreamin', 1991, which became inseparable from New Jack City itself. But success came unevenly. Later albums failed to match early momentum, and record label pressure slowly pushed him out of the spotlight just as quickly as it had pulled him in. As acting beckoned, Williams struggled to find stability. Supporting roles in New Jack City and later Bulletproof, 1996, kept him visible but never fully established. Off-screen controversies, especially public speculation tied to a past relationship, followed him unfairly, distorting his reputation and narrowing opportunities. By the late 1990s, the industry had moved on, leaving him caught between music that no longer charted and film roles that never grew. Now, Christopher Williams is 58 years old, living far from the peak that once defined him. After suffering kidney failure and falling into a coma in 2021, his survival became his greatest comeback. Now focused on health, family, and quiet recovery, his estimated net worth of around $400,000 reflects a life shaped by early fame, public misunderstanding, and a resilience that arrived only after everything else was stripped away. More than 3 decades later, the faces may have changed, but the scars, the victories, and the unanswered questions remain. Which New Jack City cast member's journey shocked you the most in 2025? Leave a comment, hit like, and subscribe for more powerful cast updates and untold Hollywood stories you won't hear anywhere else.